Okay, so Vision have sent me over a new film. It is called The Bouncer, right? It is the new one from Massimiliano Cerchi, who co-wrote the film with Adrian Milnes. Actually, no, he came up with the story. Mills wrote the screenplay. Yeah, I should get that straight. The film is produced by Massimiliano Cerchi, line produced by Andre Lupi and Elena Marek. Simone Cilio took care of the music. Vust Vago, cinematography. Kane Richard Blust edits the piece. Hair and makeup, we have Sabrina Ozuna, Firuz Patel, and Kizad Patel were sound mixing. Vincent Riviera took care of the stunts. Our cast. So John Ozuna plays Frank Sharp. Oh boy. Um, then Rosmary Yaneva is Silva. Kane is played by Costas Mandylor. Zandor is played by Vincent Riviera. The Master, the Master, is played by Gerald Okamara. Dr. Esperito is played by Nicholas Turturro. Carl, a friend of Frank's, is played by Simon Phillips. Frank's mum is played by Paloma Morales. Okay, his ex-girlfriend, who you thought was his sister, it was played by Ilya Alexandra Niscu. Florian Frotilla is a henchman. Angela is Jackie Falcone. The bartender is played by Rule Pakura. Yeah, that's probably our main group of people. Okay. So the gist of the film, right? Frank Sharp, an expat on the run in Romania, finds work as a bouncer. After saving a woman from a beating, he finds out that she is a victim of human trafficking. Together they escape the club, but now they find themselves being hunted with limited places to hide. So yes, this is a yeah, it's an interesting film. Well, I mean, it's not an interesting film, people. I'm trying to be kind. This film is kind of nuts, right? Like, we open up and we have Frank and Carl as bouncers on the door of this club. Now, Carl is in a leather jacket, black t-shirt, black trousers, you know, the usual kind of bouncer get up. Frank is in a black suit, white shirt, red tie. Now, here's the thing. If you're a bouncer, you don't just turn up in whatever the fuck you want to wear. You know, there's either a uniform, like a special jacket, or they will say, come in like a black shirt, a black t-shirt, black shirt, black whatever, black trousers, and a black jacket. You know what I mean? They might say that. But yeah, not gonna be like, come in a suit and a red tie. You'll look out of place, right? You won't look like the other bouncers. And for the majority of places, you don't want to wear a tie, because that's something people could choke you with. You know what I mean? If you're wearing a tie, you'd want it to be a clip-on at least. So, yeah, you're not getting fucked up. But he's dressed like this, and it sounds like Frank has had a life, right? He's had a life. He's, you know, done stuff, seen stuff, all of that kind of jazz. Some punks turn up, and he beats them up with his karate. But the moves are so slow. Right? They're so slow. At one point, he's fighting this hit woman. They are so slow, it is ridiculous. And he's in full mount, and he's still struggling to fuck her up. And you're just like, what's happening here? Like, it's so crazy. It's so, like, there's a bit in the first fight where he does a kick backwards and a kick forwards at these two people coming at him. There is no power in that kick. There's no power in that kick, but the two people go flying. Oh my days. It's hilarious. Right? Now, as I say, he's an expat, right? He moved because of an incident. So, as I said, he knows stuff, right? We have Kane, who's a gangster, comes to the club with a woman. Cole, you know, Frank's like, what's he doing? And Cole's just like, listen, you don't mess with that dude. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him unless he talks to you. You know, stay out of his business. And then Frank's just trying to get into his business. Now, the thing is, the catalyst for it all makes no sense, because they're leaving the club and Kane is just like, you know, he's berating the girl. You know, he's not talking to her in a nice way, but he's not necessarily shouting. He hasn't hit her, nothing like that. And Frank's all like, oh, I can't, what's happening? No, I don't want, how can he treat her like that? How can he treat her? And it's just like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, if we got irritated with people not talking to each other nicely, we'd be in a constant rage. You know, you wouldn't be able to go anywhere. And sometimes, right, cadence, volume, it's just dependent on a person, right? It doesn't mean that they're angry. Sometimes people just talk in a certain way. Or you see some couples and they have a weird way of talking and engaging with each other. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily fighting. Now, not saying that's what this was, but what I mean is Frank will have seen all of these different iterations. So it's just kind of bizarre that that's the thing. Now, if Kane is dragging his girlfriend, his concubine, right, Silvia, out of the club by her hair. If that's the case, then you would go, oh, yeah, if he's punching her as he's dragging her, you know what I mean, spitting on her, like, you could be like, what the fuck is that? That's insane. Nah, I'm not standing. You would get it, but it's not, right? It's not that at all. So it was just a weird scene for them to go, yeah, this is the catalyst for the film. This is the thing that sends Frank off. You know, like, film a better scene. I mean, you know it's a low budget film, and low budget is fine, right? We look at a lot of indie films here, and the budgets aren't high, but it's about doing what you can with the money. It's about setting the scene so they look believable. Like we got these two bouncers at this nightclub, and the line of people. There's a line of people outside. The line's probably about, I don't know, 6, maybe 8 people. It's not a long line. It's not a long line. And there's trouble outside the club, and no one says anything. No one does anything. You know, even the fight where Frank beats up like these wannabes at the start, people would have their phones out. They'd be filming it, taking photos. People would be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up. Like, people would be chanting, screaming, shouting. That's what happens. You know what I mean? I've seen it, right? I've been in them situations. I worked in the music industry. Like, the scene doesn't match what would have happened. It doesn't. So we have that, which is weird, right? All the club stuff is kind of bizarre. It doesn't really make it. And when you're inside, it's empty, right? The place is empty. There's a queue outside, but inside it's empty. Why is there a queue? You know? Like, there's so many things about this that doesn't add up, right? On that front, right? There's a bit when Frank goes home at the start. It's not lit very well, right? Because he goes into the house, the light, it's all industrial lit, right? The lighting is... It's not the same kind of lighting you would have in a home. So it's and that's the lighting in all those kind of scenes where it might be a little dark, or, you know, in the parking garage, in a building. Like, they use the same lighting rig, and they don't try and change the tone of the lighting, right, to fit the scenario. So it all goes a little bit weird, you know? So, like, they're just two of the things. The dialogue between them, well, the dialogue between everyone is just off. Between Frank and Carl, like Kane and his goons, like Frank and Silvia, like Frankie's mum and his ex. It's all weird. There's a bit when someone's like, what about us? And it's like, I'll tell you about us. And they kiss. And you're just like, ooh, that's a bad scene. But once there's a scene that makes completely no sense. And it's this kiss scene. Because at the beginning, the man is higher up than the woman, right? They're sitting down. She's kind of head on his shoulder, so she's lower than him. She then gets up and comes in at him from a different angle. But then when the view changes, she's again below him. Like, in the same bit where she had her head on her shoulder. So you're just like, wait, what happened there? Because that makes no sense. You're not going from the angle coming in to suddenly being down there. Like, what is that scene? You know, there's just a lot like that. It feels very hodgepodge, right? Flung together. Which is a kind of bizarre. It's not a long film per se. Yeah, it's not a long film, which is good. They're just weird choices about, you know, trying to escape, and then the places they do think, let's go hide. Let's go hide in an abandoned building that only has one clear entrance. Like, let's do that, right? There's so many things like that. And throughout the film, Kane, right? He's got henchmen, but he's going knocking on doors and questioning and doing all of those things himself. Well, you're just like, wait, the head gangster isn't doing that. They're going to send their thugs to go collect people, bring them to him, right? Where he might interview, question them, or he'd have someone else, because it's about creating that separation. So you're not linked to everything. It's just like, wait, why? And listen, I get it. You maybe, as I said, it's a low budget film. You don't have the funds, the budget for a whole heap of cast. Then at least have a bit in the film that explains this. Like, okay, boss, I'll go get him. You're like, no, this is personal. I go take care of this myself. It reminds me of the old days. When I was on the come up. Right? Something like that. Right? That's probably the strongest dialogue from the film. And it's not even in the film. Right? Like, oh, man. It just doesn't really make any sense. The film, it doesn't really make any sense. It reminds me of one of those Vinnie Jones films. You know what I mean? Like one of those. It's back in the day. This is definitely a straight to video joint, a straight to DVD joint. That's what this would be. It's it's bizarre. I mean, if you enjoy a lot of those, just think, right? Because he's even made a film with the same title, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme. He made a film called The Bouncer, aka Lucas. I can't remember if I've seen it or not. He's protecting a little girl. I think I've seen it and it was terrible. Or I started it. But just think of those terrible films that like Van Damme made, in the 2000s, right? Dolph Lundgren. There's those kind of films, right? A lot of those foreign Netflix action films. If you enjoyed those, right? There was The Best Man, that Dolph Lundgren film at the wedding. Yeah, if you enjoyed those films, then The Bouncer will for sure work for you. You will get on just fine with it. It is available on VODs all over the place. So, if it sounds like it might be for you, yeah. There's a bit when she's, Sylvia's got a gun. Doesn't know how to shoot. And Frank's explanation on shooting is not the best. But he got the guy shooting, and then he's like, you've got 2 shots. There's a point where he's like, you've got 2 shots. She then shoots more than twice. Right? More than twice. And then it's just like, my gun's jammed. Your gun is not jammed. Your gun should be out of bullets. That's what's the problem here. You know what I mean? Boy. Oh, man. I hope they had fun. Right? I hope they had fun doing this. Some of the edits are very jarring. Like, we get a flashback from Frank towards the beginning, and he sits down on a sofa, and then suddenly it just goes white and we go into this flashback. Then it's a hard cut back to present, and he's like, right, I'm standing up now, and that's it. And you're just like, ooh, yeah, that was clunky. That was clunky. But as I said, the Boxer is available on VODs all over the place. So if it sounds like it's one of yours, look, you won't have to think about it. Throw it on, 70 minutes, and boom, it's done. If you had a hard day, it's one of those films, people. So yeah, The Bouncer.